Hello, I'm Aiden.
And I'm Josh. Welcome to Undead Ramblings, where we talk about all things Call of Duty Zombies, amongst other games, movies, and other media.
This is episode 3 of our podcast, which we are recording on the 28th of November 2024. Last episode we discussed Nacht Der Untoten, so feel free to go back and watch that. And thanks to everyone who watched it already, especially Revenant4252, who mentioned about how they liked that the zombies models used in on World at War Nacht looked more normal, not half rotting. Josh, I'll let you cover channel updates and any zombies news.
Alright, so for channel updates, basically, it's going to be pretty simple this time. Just wanted to announce that the first chapter of the Aether Compilation is out, if you haven't seen that already. It's basically a video compromising all the tracks from Nacht Der Untoten into a single video. It's supposed to be like a bit of a celebratory piece, if you will, for the soundtrack content and, well, zombies as a whole for that period of time. So it's going to be a series that we're doing that goes from Nacht Der Untoten through to Tag Der Toten. And yeah, so you can go back and watch that first episode. We're also going to have the second episode of it for Verrückt, which is what we're going to be talking about today, out as well. So that should be out today. Fingers crossed, at least, because we went a bit late with the release for the first part. It's because of just some editing quirks, and you know how it is. I'm sure, Aiden, you're tired of hearing all about it. About all the quirks with Sony Vegas and all the frustrations and...
Yeah. I'm making a bingo card at this rate.
So, it should be out now. In theory. But you can hold me to that. Beyond that, though, we just want to talk a bit about some Black Ops 6 news, because by this point, the new map, if I pronounce it correctly, I've even been given a guide on how to pronounce it. Citadel de Mort. Hopefully I got that right.
Yeah.
It's probably out by the time this video's gone live. In fact, it should be. I think it comes out, is it the day before?
Mm-hmm.
Next Thursday?
No, this episode drops on the 5th, and the new map drops on the 5th as well.
Right, so it'll be out when you hear this, or if you listen to it on the same day. So covering that, we're going to go into that in the next episode. So it's just going to be Verrückt this week, but for the next episode we'll be doing one dedicated to thoughts and impressions on the new map, just like we did with Terminus and Liberty Falls when they first came out. Alright, so...
We'll probably do...
Oh, go on.
I was just going to say, we'll probably do that for every map going forward with Black Ops 6, just give our initial thoughts and impressions of it.
Yeah, exactly, as we go. Like we said in the pilot episode, if something new comes up, we'll do a new episode covering it. We'll drop what we're doing that week. And
Absolutely.
I should probably mention, actually, because it's going to be that next week, there will not be an Aether Compilation episode to come out next week. So... Shinonim will come out in about a month's time, something like that. It's like 4 weeks, isn't it, when we do it next? So yeah. So Shinonim won't be out for a little longer, but we'll get to it. But I will be doing the new map soundtrack when it becomes available, so you can expect that week. All right.
Well, you mentioned to me. Oh, sorry, I was just gonna.
That's all right.
Say I'll jump into the topics in a second, but you mentioned to me about getting on with the other soundtrack bits probably in the new year.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking of revisiting the Terminus and Liberty Falls soundtrack properly next year, once we've finished with World at War and done all those episodes, and got the compilation up to speed. So yeah, it's just a case, of finding your footing, really. But
did we want to quickly talk about the... Oh, sorry.
No, it's alright.
Did we want to quickly talk about... Do you want to quickly talk about the intro cutscene for Citadel de Mort?
Ah, that's a good point, actually. Yeah, so for us, that just came out yesterday, was it? And
yes.
Ravenov with his...
maybe a day before?
With his new face in every iteration. I don't know where he gets his plastic surgery done, but somehow he looks different every single time we see him. No, I really enjoyed the
Honestly,
intro
like,
cutscene. I'll probably link it in the description if you haven't seen it, but it's on all the official Call of Duty channels if you want to go look for it yourself. But yeah, I thought it was really good. I like that it characterised some of our Terminus crew a bit more, because I feel like in Terminus they were a bit bland, you know what I mean? Just a little bit.
Sans Carver and Strauss, though.
Yeah, like I say, Carver really needs to get some dialogue at some point, because he's just kind of there at the minute. He just exists.
I mean, it is a step up from Strauss, who was just non-existent in that map.
Yeah,
cutscene.
that was strange. He's just vanished for this map, apparently. I'm assuming he'll be on comms.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But yeah, like, just got touching back on one of the things we talked about in the first episode. God, some of Weaver's quotes are just... there's something else. Dear Lord. I hadn't really played as him when we made that video. I hadn't really played as a lot of the cast. I was still jumping between operators and main cast at the time, so I didn't get to really hear a lot of it. But like all the edgy ones, like years of pent up rage. I'm just like, oh no.
I just love how Richtofen just lives rent free in his head.
Absolutely, yeah. Like it's like that thing I sent you, the picture of that someone made on Reddit where he's sticking the bike wheel, tripping himself up. Damn you, Richtofen!
Yeah. Oh, so good.
And I feel like that's going to be a continuous theme, isn't it, for this season? What were you saying?
Yeah, I really like the new character Maya, but I do hope that she it's not. I felt like she was kind of overshadowing like some of the established characters.
Yeah,
like Carver in that previous cutscene.
Yeah,
and like Grey only got like one line of dialogue, so like as much as I like her, I hope that they give all of the characters like a level of love.
Yeah, I agree. I get that it's difficult, to have 4 characters and make them all feel like they're all being fairly treated, and make it feel natural, but without making them all speak and it sound, like they're just making people speak because they need them to. You know what I mean? I feel like that's a bit of a difficult balance.
Yeah.
But I do hope they give some of the characters a bit more footing. It's like you say, it
would be nice to have a kind of...
I was just going to say it's very basic so far. But yeah, what were you going to say?
Yeah, it would be nice to give them kind of like the Black Ops 3 treatment, where every character gets their kind of map.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, if we take that approach now and assume that's what they're doing, I guess this is Maya's one. No, then again, Maya's was the first one, wasn't it? Terminus was Maya's map. Well, we know she's got that whole stake with what's his name, Franco or something. Apparently there's a lot of overlap with campaign and multiplayer with this story so far, but I haven't played either, so I can't speak to it. But apparently, like, the group that they're referring to in the intro is from, and the outro for Terminus is relevant to campaign and multiplayer. The more you know.
Possibly. I mean, I've played campaign and multiplayer, and it's not something that I've made the connection of. But then again, I don't make a lot of connections.
But like I said, this is just something that somebody said on Reddit, so I can't speak to its authenticity. I haven't played it myself.
Alright, that's fair. That's fair.
But yeah, do you want to go into the topics then, or is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah, so... No. I think that's everything. Getting into the main topic. So this episode we're going to cover Verrückt, the second zombies map to be released, set in an asylum overrun by the Undead.
Absolutely.
Once again, we'll mainly be sticking to the World at War version, and briefly cover the Black Ops 1 port. I mentioned last episode that the Chronicles maps will be their own kind of package.
Yeah, we'll be doing that later, won't we? Just as their own.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Going into the actual topics for this episode, so we're going to cover our initial thoughts on the map, much like... It's going to be very much like last episode, so our initial thoughts on the map, background and setting, mechanics and gameplay, music, the Black Ops 1 port. We'll probably be covering trivia, but that will also be laced into our discussion anyway.
Yeah.
And then any other kind of things that we want to add in.
Absolutely, yeah, just miscellaneous stuff like map rumors and that sort of thing, or maybe a little interesting find that I found last time I was no clipping around. We'll be sure to talk about when we get there.
Yeah.
All right.
So, our initial thoughts on the map. Josh, take it away. What do you think of Verrückt?
Oh, it's God, where do you start? I feel like I'm going the same way I did with Nacht with this one, where I couldn't find the right words. It's one of those ones that I've got a lot of nostalgia for. I know it's not everyone's favourite, and I feel like it's often overlooked, but it's one of those ones that I've always really liked. Like I don't know about you, but when Chronicles came out, I played a hell of a lot of Verrückt on Black Ops 3. It was just like one of my favourites to just pick up and play if I just wanted a short game to like round 20 or something. It's just such a fun casual map to get into, but it's not casual to the point where you are overwhelmed by like round 15 or something. Though it can be quite close sometimes, especially in those earlier games, which is the ones I suppose we're primarily talking about here. On World at War, it's a different story altogether, isn't it? It's quite tough on World at War. With its super sprinters and whatnot, but we'll get to that eventually. It's one of those ones that I really like the atmosphere for. It's like a top-notch, spooky kind of map, and I don't think we really get a lot of those nowadays. I feel like we've kind of lost that horror element a bit over the years, and it's gone into more of a fantasy sort of feel, which is fine. I like both, but they really don't make maps like Verrückt anymore. Like I said to you on the pilot, I believe it was, with the super sprinters always flying around corners used to creep me out back in the day. They've got under my skin in a way that zombies haven't been able to since. That could be nostalgia, childhood nostalgia talking. I don't know. But yeah, I really love the map. I think it's an absolute classic. And I would, honestly, I'd put it up there with Nacht. I really would. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very much in the same boat as you. I think this map, more than any other, perhaps with the only exception of something like the Final Reich, this map is creepy. I don't think, like you said, we've ever really had a map that could be considered truly horrifying. And
absolutely.
I don't know, it makes your hair stand on your end. Everything about this map is just, by very virtue that it's set in an asylum. Yeah. It gives off that horror element that we don't really have anymore. Yeah. And it's definitely the perfect sequel to Nacht Der Untoten, that it took everything that Nacht had and built on it. I love Verrückt. It's not one that I play as often as I probably should. And when compared to the other World at War maps, I'd say it's definitely Dries is obviously the favourite. Yeah. Then probably Verrückt, Nacht, and then Shinonuma often gets gets forgotten about.
In fairness, though,
but we'll cover Shinonuma.
In fairness, though, I would say for me, Verrückt for me is my Shinonuma. For you, it's one of those ones that people don't really talk about all that much, but I personally love it. I think, because Shinonuma, not Shinonuma, Verrückt has that horror element. Yeah, it stands out in people's minds a lot more. Yeah, that's fair. And just by the fact that it introduced, as we'll get on into later, it introduced so many new things that are core to the mode. It's certainly... nostalgia is always applied to the World at War maps, but yeah, for sure, there's a reason for it. But then again, I don't think that makes you, you're not blinded to its flaws just because you might be nostalgic about it. Like I say, like, I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent a bit here, but like, I don't typically pick up World at War by choice these days, just because of little, gameplay gimmicks like the really sticky zombies and whatnot. It's just but I do have a lot of nostalgia for it, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything more to add to that, really. Let's move on to background and map setting. So,
Alright.
the map is set in an asylum, which is taken from campaign and multiplayer. There is a multiplayer, and I cannot remember what the names are for each place it's taken from.
I do remember reading it last night, what the campaign mission is called, but it's escaped me. I can't think of it off the top of my head. I don't have the wiki open either to check, and I don't want to clank the keyboard and have a little background noise.
No, that's fine. I mean, people who played World at War probably know it is in World at War, and once again, it's Treyarch reusing zombies assets, or assets from campaign and multiplayer for zombies.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't really know a lot about the development of this map specifically. It's not really something that's often spoken about. I don't know if you've heard anything about it.
No.
Nacht's Nacht has so much history, but Verrückt, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head that's public information that came out about Verrückt. It just feels like they just took what they had and expanded on it, really. And I did, obviously, what we'll get to in the next topic. But yeah, no, I'm not really too aware of anything that happened leading up to Verrückt's development. Although we do know of one feature, actually, that got cut, which we were going to talk about later on, but I'll just move it up here, may as well, which is the ability to mount weapons, or in a specific locations, like in the bar room, you used to be able to affix the bar mounted to one of the windows and shoot out of it, which I thought was a really cool feature. It's a shame it's been cut. I would have liked to have seen it.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I've never experienced that myself, but I was aware of it. I mean, as we'll speak about over the trailers, like, was shown in one of the trailers that you could as well.
Yeah. I might have a picture of it on screen from the trailer, but I'll also have the trailer in the description if you want to have a look yourself. It seems like they had it working. I don't really understand why they took that out.
I don't know.
I felt like it fit into development though, so may as well mention it, you know.
Yeah. So I was just having a look to see when it came out, because I was curious about how long development time it had, and it actually had quite a few months, like since between World at War's release and then Map Pack 1 dropping out. So World at War released on the 11th of November.
Okay.
And then Map Pack 1 released on the 19th of March the following year. So it had quite a few months of development time. I remember we spoke about last episode that I wonder how much time that they actually had, like if they had Verrückt ready to go or already developing Verrückt. Because of the outro Easter egg song on that.
Yeah.
But if they had November, December, January, February, March, that was 4 months of development time that they had for it. That's plenty of time that they could be working on this map, and obviously Shino Noom as well, probably.
Absolutely. I'm curious if there's anything maybe. I know it's some letter maps, but we'll cover them when we get to them. But Duries has a couple of leftover things in the files, like textures and stuff, for quotes, for features that never made it in. I'd be curious to see if there's anything in Verrückt like that got cut. We know that the perk jingles have changed a few times. Like, is it Juggernog that changes later on in one of the later maps? Pretty sure Juggernog has a slightly different jingle. Pack-a-Punch does as well.
I know that the Pack-a-Punch jingle is basically a cut-down version of the full... Like, there is a full version of it, but
that's probably what I'm thinking
I wasn't aware of the perk jingles.
I'm sure Juggernog has a slightly different variation. I'm pretty certain it does. I'll have to fact check that.
I'll have to look into that.
If I find it after this, I'll send it on Discord.
Yeah,
because speaking of which, actually, I made a might update on what we said in Nacht. Oh, sorry, go on.
Which is... No, you first.
Just the fact that I found out where that information came from about Undone being repurposed. It's in the description of Kevin's upload for Undone. If you want to check the description for that, he explains that it was originally for a campaign mission that got repurposed and it just didn't fit anymore, so they just do it in Nacht. So that's pretty cool.
I'd love to know what Black Ops. Yeah, I'd love to know what Black Ops 1 campaign mission that was for.
Yeah, it's, I'd be interested to know as well. Guess we'll find out sometime, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. I guess speaking of Juggernog, do you want to move on to mechanics and gameplay?
Mechanics and gameplay. Oh, let's have a look. What have we got? Well, Verrückt is the first map to introduce perks, like all the classic 4 perks. Juggernog, Quick Reviver, Speed Cola, and Double Tap. Well, 3 of them are staples now. One of them not so much.
I still can't believe it's been 10 years that we haven't had Double Tap.
I know, that is a sin. A cardinal sin that we haven't had Double Tap for 4 years. 10 years, sorry.
Genuinely staggering. Like, I can't believe, like, what was it? Black Ops 3? Yeah, so perhaps just over 10 years. Or, no, just under 10 years.
Well, I mean, technically, it's in Black Ops 4.
No, I don't count that. Not my Double Tap 2.
We need to get a petition going to bring back Double Tap.
Well, I'm holding out hope for Black Ops 6, but yeah, I mean, Verrückt once again building on Nacht Der Untoten, the bare bones that Nacht Der Untoten laid out, or the foundations, I should say.
Absolutely.
Verrückt introduced its own kind of core mechanics, and one of the major one really for this was the perks.
And thank God they did.
And I know. I mean, I know that they're basically all from multiplayer, but
I was about to ask that.
I can't
actually
imagine zombies without perks.
Aren't the emblems in that for multiplayer? Or variations of the multiplayer perks? I'm sure there's one that's like, like Sleight of Hand is Speed Cola and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, they're all kind of very similar, but yeah, it's once again Treyarch reusing assets, but and reusing mechanics, but I don't think it's really zombies without something like Juggernog or Quick Revive, as was really experienced when they took away like Jug or Speed Cola in Black Ops 4.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those. I feel like it's one of those features that, once you've had it for so long, you start to take it for granted, and just end up, once they're gone, you realise how much you actually use them.
Absolutely. I never bought into that whole argument about Jug being a crutch perk. Like,
oh yeah.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Absolutely. I wouldn't even call it a crutch perk, to be honest, because it's. I would say it's more a necessity than a crutch. You don't get very far in zombies these days, especially in World at War. You wouldn't get very far without Jug. Nacht was just dumb luck, surviving Nacht, more than anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know who. I heard a rumor at one point, and I don't know how true it is, but I believe that what's the lead writer called? The Scottish guy.
Craig.
That's the one. Yep, just had a brain fart there. Craig helped sing some of these. Apparently.
Oh yeah.
But what I do know is that Elena sang Juggernog.
Yeah. I always thought that was interesting. When I think back to it in my head, it seems so obvious. But I don't know. I never noticed it back in the day. But I suppose, to be fair, she was quite new to zombies at the time, so I guess maybe it's fair that connection wasn't made.
That's fair. And I think I'm pretty sure you agree. Like, perks add so much personality to zombies and the maps that they're in as well.
Absolutely.
And that's again something sorely missed, particularly in the Aether side of Black Ops 4.
Yeah, I agree. I've got to say, I'm kind of surprised that we got perk jingles with the perks in Verrückt. I had a feeling that would have been something that would have come later. You know how, like, we got... in fact, I'll just mention this now. It was in the trivia section, but I'll mention it now. Just how we have, like, the announcer introduced in this map and the power-up icons.
Oh, yeah.
So I always just thought it was interesting how each next map seems to adapt on a previous idea. So I was quite surprised to find that we already had jingles. And we still used the same jingles. Like, nearly 20 years later.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm sure half of them are, like... At least the instrumentals, aren't some of them stock? I'm pretty sure they are.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm sure certain elements of them are stock. I'd have to double check that. I do apologise if anyone from Chronicles is listening and they actually made that tune. Just called it stock. I do apologise.
I mean, to be fair, there is precedent for it. Like, the Fire Cell theme is stock. I'm pretty sure the Monkey Bomb theme is stock.
I'm sure I've heard, like I've seen like adverts in, like, America where they've used the instrumental for, like, Quick Revive or something. And it's not got the vocals, it's just the instrumental. Yeah, so I don't know if that's a fact. I'd have to double check that, but it's interesting if it's true.
Yeah, it wouldn't.
Because isn't Abracadabra the intro? That's stock as well. The drum beat.
Oh, I didn't know that.
The drum beat is.
Okay.
I think it's the drums. I'll have to check. It's one part of it is definitely because I've heard it on Kitchen Nightmares.
Oh
yeah, I've heard it on that. So that one's definitely stuck.
One last thing I want to mention about the perks is that I love that they're based, like, the machines themselves are based on actual real life soda machines.
Oh yeah. I've seen some comparison images.
So, like,
I don't have any references off the top of my head, but I have seen comparison images of, like, I know one of them's like a Coca-Cola machine, like an old vintage 50s one or something.
Yeah, I think Jug is like Coca-Cola. I mean, if possible, like, it'd be cool if you could have them on the screen.
I'll see if I can find them after we've finished recording. I'll have a dig around. They are all the original four are, though, for sure. I don't know about the later ones, but the first four for sure are.
I know we were going to mention it probably later, but it's probably good, being as we're talking about the perks, we might as well talk about the posters.
Oh yeah.
At this point.
Yeah, so Verrückt has, if you haven't, well, I'm saying you haven't played it. Who hasn't played Verrückt at this point? I said it in Nacht, so I guess I have to say it here. You know, it's only fair.
That's true.
Yeah, so next to each of the perks, they have these posters, and they only ever appeared once. I think Verrückt is the only map, isn't it, to feature these posters? And they were just cool little adverts, like in-universe adverts for the perk machines. Who made them? I have no idea. But but there they are. And one thing that we were actually talking about before we started recording was the fact that they're kind of like always put next to the machine, like a machine that isn't actually the one being advertised. And that always bothered me. Because I'm like, surely if you want to buy the perk that you're looking at, you want to know what that one does. Not the one 3 flights of stairs away. You know what I mean?
See, I gave the argument that perhaps it's advertising a different perk because, like, you've bought this perk that's right next to the poster.
Absolutely, yeah.
How about this one at some point?
But I'm sure, like, the speed... I wrote them down last night when I was researching, and I'm pretty sure the one for speed caller is right next to Jug. Or the vice versa, sorry. I think the Jug one is right next to the speed caller machine. I'm like, that is miles away from the actual perk machine. But I get your train of thought, I do. One last thing while we're talking about perks. Again, it was something we were going to bring up later, but may as well do it now. Is the fact, like, Quick Revive's functionality being changed in later iterations. For those who haven't played it, in World at War, if you went down with Quick Revive on solo, you would not be revived. It was useless. A complete waste of money in the original, in their original outings. It's not until, is it Black Ops 1?
If you're playing with solo.
Yeah, the whole being revived 3 times didn't come in until Black Ops 1 with Kino, I believe. 5.
Yep.
And thank God they added that, because Quick Revive was such a waste back in the day. I used to just buy it on solo just to waste money. It was a complete it was completely pointless, but I was like, sod it, I may as well. Got nothing else to spend it on, so why not? You know, back before...
Yeah, whoever made that change...
Oh, go on.
I was going to say, whoever made that change in Black Ops 1 needs a raise.
Absolutely. I was just about to burst into her. Back in my day, we used to be able to have games set up with only like 10,000 points and never have to buy anything else. Before nowadays, where everything costs like 1 million points to get all your weapons pack-a-punched and have all your tiers upgraded and armor, whatever else. Score Street.
Life was simple back then.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not complaining. I love Black Ops 6. I just think it's funny looking back at when we used to be able to be completely set up in only like 10,000 points.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was that. Go on.
I was going to say, shall we move on to the next thing that, cool thing that, Verrückt introduced was, traps.
Yeah, the traps. Well, trap, I guess. I think the electric trap is the only trap in that map, isn't it?
Yeah, but there's multiple of them, so pluralized.
Yeah. What do you think of that placement?
It can be okay. Like, some of them are useful.
Yeah.
But some of them are not. I guess it depends on what round you are, because sometimes if you do activate it mid-round and it's a high round, that balcony, or both those balconies turn into absolute death traps.
Absolutely.
But I know that the traps are used for high round strats, so
yeah,
it's pick your poison, really.
It's like you say, once they start coming through that barrier and you've got the trap on, you're just counting the seconds until it turns off, waiting for this mass group to come running through. Because back then, like, I know in the Black Ops 1 part they added a few new wonder weapons, but before that you only had the ray guns, so if you got stuck on that balcony with just the ray gun, yeah, it didn't exactly end very well, because I don't know if you remember how bad splash damage was in World at War for the ray gun. It was awful. If you got shot at your feet once, I'm sure it insta-downed you. If you shot up the floor, it was ridiculous.
Without Jug, yeah.
Yeah, it was horrible. So glad that they've changed that in future iterations.
I believe the splash damage actually I mean, it could still be the same, but the splash damage used to do more damage than the actual being hit, like instead of an actual impact.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, the strategy has always been, shoot at the floor, shoot at their legs with it, rather than shooting at them dead on. I don't know, I'm assuming that's what you do as well. You just shoot their feet instead of shooting them dead on.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
It's just more accurate that way.
And same with the traps, like, they were an absolute death trap unless you had Jug.
Yeah, 100%. See, the rule for that has kind of changed over the years. Some games now, if you cross through electric barriers, you die instantly. I remember Black Ops 3 being particularly funny with it. I'm pretty sure in some of the Chronicles remasters, or like maybe even on Verrückt, if you go through the thing, there's a chance you get red screened immediately, or you just drop dead. Even with Jug. It's a bit finicky on later games, but at least in World of War you could run through it with Jug. At least I'm pretty
It
confident.
still slowed it down, but...
Yeah. As long as you jumped through it,
Yeah.
though, it didn't really matter, I suppose. You'd still manage to pull through. Assuming you didn't get hit before or after getting through. But yeah, what did you think of the traps? I thought they were alright.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, once again, it introduced a core mechanic that's still used today.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the electric trap is the old favourite, but it set the scene for things like the flogger or the machine gun turret. Like, I can't imagine zombies without traps.
Yeah, me neither. I think it also kind of showcases the, Treyarch learning that people wanted to last longer in the mode. Because I think, in that, because wasn't it with Knack, they saw people getting to rounds that they thought were impossible. Seeing people getting to like 30s and 40s. And so they decided to play into that and give players more options to last longer.
And I suppose it kind of... I was just going to say, I suppose it kind of goes back to that tower defense element that we were talking about last episode.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
In those classic tower defense games, you can upgrade your base to have like turrets and like various traps. Like,
yeah,
this just adds to it on a 3D scale.
Absolutely, yeah. All right. Well, what have we got next? Well, this is one thing, you've talked about before, is the fact that you can split up, like the players are split up at the beginning of the match. That's always been an interesting gimmick that they haven't used very much. I think the only other time it's been reused was Dead of the Night, wasn't it? Later on. Yeah.
And not really to the same effect as Verrückt.
No, it was kind of,
opinion.
what's the word? Shallow as a puddle on that, because you went through like 2 doors and then you were back. So it really didn't matter that much. And I think that's a shame, because I used to think it was a really fun idea, especially with randoms, because you never know which side was going to open the door. So it was just a case of, which selfish player can outlive the other selfish player in the other room, because no one wants to open either door.
Yeah.
So you just get stuck.
Absolutely.
But that was part of the fun,
Absolutely. And I suppose it'd be worth mentioning here, I know I put it just below, but like, you were either stuck on what I call and most other people call the German side, where you got like the MP40 or the STG, or you were stuck on the American side, which had like the Thompson or the BAR.
Yeah.
I thought was a really cool kind of dynamic that both routes offer very different
like experiences.
ways to play, really.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah, that's the word I'm looking for.
Absolutely. I also really like the detail of when you switch power on, it connected the rooms, so you could now reach each other. It wasn't just a case of you both having to open each side of the map. You could, as long as someone reached that power room, you could reunite, as it were.
Yeah, and that I mean, we'll get onto power in a second, but like that led to a really good strategy that if you didn't open the power door on where the kitchen is on the American side, you could keep that door shut and the zombies would only come from one route, so that offered a really good camping strategy.
Damn, you're out in my Black Ops 3 strat. Always camping on that power door from the kitchen. It's great. It just sucks that you can't get the choice if you end up on the other side at the start of the game. But
yeah, I believe in... What's even more funny though is that I believe in World at War, you could buy that door, but as long as you didn't actually go into the power room, zombies wouldn't actually go in, like, come from behind.
Yeah.
I could be wrong on that or misremembering it.
No,
I have a feeling that's...
I'm pretty sure you're right on that, actually. I know if you open it from the American side, as we'll call it. No, not the American side, sorry, the German side. They don't come up the stairs if you don't open the kitchen facing door. They used to not come up behind you from that way. I think they came from the window behind you near the showers, but I don't think they come from the power room. So that was always fun.
Okay.
I'm sure there's a few maps that do that, where if you don't open certain doors, certain spawns don't trigger.
Yeah, and this goes back to what we were talking about last episode, where, like, if you opened the stairs or the help room door, both offer very different strategies, and once again we see this in Verrückt.
Absolutely. It's just like, I like that freedom of choice, where you can go whichever way you want and play the map how you want, and certain things will or won't happen depending on which path you choose to take. It just gives you the option of going the way, that's the most efficient for you. Well, maybe not so much in Verrückt with the, there's random spawns, but more so for other maps. But it's a feature that they kept, building on as the series went on, which I really like.
Yeah.
So you want to move on from that, or you got anything else you want to add?
Yeah, sure. I mean, no, I think we've really covered that. But you mentioned earlier about when you turn power on. That's another. I might as well speak about it here. Like, that's another core mechanic that still exists today. Is the invention of the power switch.
Absolutely. Do you not think it's strange? I know going into Shinonima a bit here, but the Shinonima completely cut it. Do you think it was unpopular?
I don't think it was unpopular. I think it's just that they were trying different things in Shinonima, like with the random perks, and
that's true.
I guess in that kind of environment, it wouldn't make sense for there to be a power switch necessarily.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose it was one thing that we were going to bring up in trivia, that the hand on the power switch being Peter McCann's. I always thought that was pretty cool. Love little details like that.
Yeah. Which is hilarious when you think about all the other maps that have the hand. Like Peter McCain's arm gets around.
Absolutely. Or the nonsense that's transit, where you have to actually put the hand on the power switch for it to work.
Yeah.
What? Okay. Sure.
Gotta love video game logic.
Sure, why not?
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, something you mentioned on there as well is the mystery box moving, which is I believe this is the first instance of that happening in Verrückt. How many locations are there in Verrückt?
I think so. There's the main one in Power. There's three more on the German side. Sorry, and then there's one more. So 4.
See, I always get them mixed up because a part of me is thinking of the Wonder Fizz machines from the Chronicles version as well. So I always throw that into the mix.
Right.
I think you're right though. That sounds right to me. I was also gonna.
Yeah, because.
Oh, go on.
I was gonna say because there's the one. The only one in the American side is in the room with the Thompson.
Yeah.
And then there's one in the room with Jug. There's one at the top of the stairs next to the knife doll, or mannequin as I call it.
Oh, yeah.
And then isn't there another one just outside of Power?
Yeah, I think so. It's like next to the debris, isn't it? The one that would lead to double tap, but it's blocked off.
Oh, so that's 5 locations, not 4.
All right, okay. Do you I've never been 100% sure on this. Do you know if it has the box light in Verrückt? I don't think it does. Not in World War, I don't.
I don't remember.
Oh God, I'm not entirely sure.
Don't remember. Should have done our research.
I mean, I'll check it after this, and I'll let you know. Or maybe I'll even post it in the description. We'll see. So yeah, moving on from that, we got our first dedicated cast here. Well, dedicated in quotes. More like building on...
Our first voiced cast, at the very least.
Yeah, more like building on what we had before, but just giving them dialogue. It's basically just, I'd say nameless Marines, but they now kind of have a story going with them at this point, so...
Yeah, we actually have, over the years, got confirmation on who all of them are. One's definitely Dempsey, one's John Banana, one is called Smokey, and then the last one was revealed in Alpha Omega, and I can't remember what his name is.
See, you've told me this before, but I don't think I ever checked this, so I'm not 100% sure. God. No, I don't know off the top of my head, I don't think. I just know the other three. I will say, though, someone must have kicked Dempsey between the legs before he started playing on Verrückt. Jesus Christ. If you've heard them speak, you'll know what I mean. They've all got these really high-pitched voices, and none of them are Dempsey, as far as I'm concerned. But we'll go with it.
Oh, here we go. The last one's called Paxton Gunner Ridge.
Does not ring a bell to me at all. Is it Alpha Omega?
It is Alpha Omega that was revealed.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I always think it's pretty cool when...
I know that...
Oh, go on.
No, you first.
I was going to say, I always think it's pretty cool when they work backwards and give us names and stuff for characters that seemingly were unimportant when the map came out.
Mm-hmm.
I always like when they had extra detail. What were you going to say? Sorry.
Yeah. I was just going to say, like, I know that we had Marines in Nacht, but I think them giving them voice lines for this map really once again gave the mode extra life. I believe that this is the first instance of our characters in Call of Duty history actually having voice lines while you play as them.
All right. Huh. I did not know that.
So, like, in Mason is often in Black Ops 1 considered the first voice protagonist, but the first actual voiced characters, or voiced player characters, are the Marines, I believe.
Oh, wow. Honestly, I didn't know that. But you should have been doing the trivia section, not me.
It's only because I was thinking about that a couple of weeks back, was like, because I was playing the Black Ops 6 campaign, and it's got dialogue boxes for the protagonist, like the player character in there.
Alright.
And I was thinking to myself, how much I prefer voice protagonists.
Yeah.
Or voice player characters, and then I was thinking to myself, hang on a minute, who was the first, voice player character, protagonist? And it was, I initially thought Mason, and then hang on a minute, Zombies characters speak in World at War, and then it kind of led me to the Marines, so yeah, the more you know.
Honestly, that's a pretty cool bit of info, actually. I would never have guessed. I don't think I ever mentioned it in the previous episodes, but my experience with Call of Duty started with COD 4, so I couldn't have spoken for any of the previous games. But I know the Soap didn't speak in COD 4.
Yeah, and having played the previous games myself, they don't speak in that, and they don't speak in the campaign of World at War either, or in Modern Warfare 2, which is after World at War, so... It's really fun when you actually think about it.
Yeah, that's true.
I was going to say, it's really fun when you think about it.
It's just always really strange and jarring, though, when you go back to, Black Ops 1, and you get that flashback mission, where you see the person you played as in World at War, and they're suddenly speaking. And you're like, not how I thought they'd sound. You know what I mean? Like, you make it up in your head how you think this character behaves and how they sound, but and you're like, ooh, never mind.
Yeah, totally.
Let's go on.
Briefly cover. Let's briefly move on because we're cutting into time now. Let's briefly cover Super Sprinters and then Bouncing Betties as well. Not much to really talk about with Bouncing Betties.
I was going to say, I'll let you take point with Bouncing Betties if you want, because I'm not entirely sure what to add to that.
I mean,
just Claymores,
again, it's just another instance. Yeah, it's another instance of Verrückt introducing a new mechanic, which is the trap, or not the electric traps, but the actual kind of mine traps. So you're Bouncing Betties in this, you got Claymores later on, and then you got your trip mines.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's another staple
The only significance I could think of in the Bouncing Betties, it comes in the Der East trailer. But we'll cover that later. When we get to
yeah.
one specific funny scene. It's just outrageous, because I don't even think you could do it in game. But anyway, getting sidetracked.
You can.
You can.
Yeah, there's no in this map or in this game and Black Ops 1 there was no limit on how many tacticals you could play.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah, which led to some wild moments, believe you me.
I can imagine, yeah. And then you've got trip mines.
Yep. Just
started going downhill from there, didn't it?
Nerf to hell, bless them. Nerf to hell. Let's talk about super sprinters, because I know you've got a few things to say about them.
Absolutely, they're by far my favourite aspect of Verrückt, without a doubt. So it's just the way they move in Verrückt. It's just so unique and freaky looking. Mm-hmm. They have so much character in their original outing that's sadly lost, I feel, in future outings. I mean, they do still have sprinters, I think, in Black Ops 3, don't they? But it's the traditional Call of the Dead-esque animations. It's not the... There's something about them running at you, like, I know we talked about it in the pilot, but like the shovel-handed sprint and the way they come flying round corners, it's genuinely haunting, especially given the surroundings of the map. It really fits the theme. It makes it like genuinely seem like the zombies are insane almost. You know what I mean? It's the way they move. It's just, I don't know. I always just found it always got under my skin. That could be nostalgia speaking. Maybe I'm the only one who feels that way, but for me, they've always freaked me out. What about you?
I think part of that was because the actual like noises that they make, the zombie screams, would usually be trailing behind them because they were moving so fast.
Yeah, because that was the thing in World at War, wasn't it? Like zombie sounds just played anywhere. They didn't originate from the actual models. So you could hear them like they were right next to you, and they come shooting around the corner.
Which is so hilarious.
Whenever I think of it...
Yeah,
I was just going to quickly say, whenever I think about it, I always think of the corridor with the... with the Easter egg song on it. And that hallway of them coming down the end and running around the corner, that's the one that always comes to mind when I think of Super Sprinters.
Yeah.
So nostalgic. Or the one that next to Double Tap that goes up the stairs, that was also a death trap. But yeah, go on. What were you going to say?
I like the super sprinters in this, and it's crazy that they never really came back until Call of the Dead.
Yeah,
and even then, that was very circumstantial. And it wasn't really until it must be Black Ops 4 that we got like super sprinters back properly.
Yeah.
I've never been one for liking when zombies are quicker than the player's walk speed, but I think in the context of World at War and Verrückt specifically, it works.
Yeah,
that you are trying to survive, and the moment you go around a corner, you are not safe.
Yeah,
like, they will be herring around. It's very World War Z kind of style. Feelings really.
I like that they always came in pockets. There were never like mass numbers of them. There was always only like one among every slow group, but that's what made them so frightening, because they came out of nowhere in this small group of slower zombies. And they just completely belted
I think that's kind of why.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I think that's why I like the Verrückt one specifically, because it wasn't the whole horde that was moving at breakneck speed.
Yeah.
It's just the odd one, and so it was more manageable.
Yeah.
And that's why but when it's a whole horde, I don't like that super sprinters can run quicker than the player's walk speed.
I'm not actually sure. Is that true for World at War? I'd have to test it. I'm assuming they do.
It's been a while, so I can't remember.
I'm assuming they do, but I know the ones in Chronicles definitely do. The Cold War, Call of the Dead ones definitely run up at your speed for sure. It's like well, just going on to Super Sprinters a minute, going off on a bit of a tangent again. Like as I said to you the other day, I've been trying for this round 100 thing on Black Ops 6, and I just don't get the appeal of a whole group of zombies running at full speed. It just gets frustrating. You know what I mean? It doesn't have that same appeal when they're all bunched up and running full pelt. It just doesn't work for me. I prefer it when it's one in every group or a couple in every group.
Yeah, because it doesn't really give you, when it's a whole horde, you don't have a chance to reload or even have just a general breather, but when it's just one or two, it's that manageable.
Absolutely.
You then are able to kind of take stock of the situation.
Yeah. I will say, though, that they do offset it by newer games making it so the damage that they do is, like, now got health caps. They don't keep going like they used to. In World at War, in case you didn't know, if zombies' health continuously rises and it doesn't stop until the game crashes, which I think is like around 255 or something. 225, 255. It's one of the two.
256, I think.
Something like that, yeah. But yeah, the health would just keep climbing until they were complete bullet sponges and nothing worked. So I would say the offset of them making them all sprint does work, but I don't know. I just find them more obnoxious.
And there's more...
Oh, go on.
Yeah, and there is arguably more survivability in the more recent releases.
Yeah, absolutely. I just find that when they're all running at you, it can just feel more obnoxious than intense or frightening. I mean, if you're playing it in a group, it's fine, I suppose, but solo, it can just get a bit miserable after a while. At least for me.
Absolutely.
It just feels like you can't move anywhere without getting whacked about. Alright, you want to move on to music and ambience then?
Absolutely, I'll let you take point on this.
Alright, so Verrückt introduced the first hidden Easter egg song from Kevin Sherwood, so that was Lullaby of a Dead Man, which is, I think, the only song to have two variations. Black Ops 1 added a version that also has a piano element to it, but at least I'm pretty sure it's Black Ops 1. We talked about this before, didn't we? We couldn't decide whether it's Black Ops 1 or Black Ops 3. I think it's Black Ops 1. So yeah, what did you think about the song? Like, I think for a first outing, it was it's still really good, and I go back to it occasionally from time to time. It's not my favourite. There's certainly been, in my opinion, better ones since, but for something they hashed together from a song they wrote, for an act, and just potentially wrote it all together last minute, I think it's pretty solid.
Yeah, it's a great song. I mean, Elena... Is it Elena or Elena?
I always go between Alina and Elena, so whichever one you want.
Okay, I'm just gonna go Elena. But she absolutely knocked it out of the park, and
oh yeah,
I think she became, just from that song alone, she became the zombies' darling, basically.
Absolutely.
And it's one of the few songs, at least in the early days, like certainly between this and Black Ops 3, that doesn't have any kind of major screaming in it.
Yeah, that's true. To be fair, well, the one has growling.
Yeah,
I suppose,
yeah.
But that's it.
But this one's very much more just, for lack of a better word, standard singing.
Yeah.
And it's not as heavy as a lot of the other zombies maps that came after it, really.
Absolutely,
so
yeah.
It's got a nice kind of uniqueness to it in that regard, and I love how they always pay homage to it. Like I know I'm mentioning it late, or we're mentioning it later, but in Blackout you can activate the Lullaby of a Dead Man in the Asylum section of that map, which is great.
Can you? God, I need to hang up my zombies badge.
You never really played Blackout much, though, did you?
True. It sucks because I went out my way and bought the TED skin for it, but I don't play the damn modes. I never got to use it. I just saw it and I was like, I need it.
It's a shame the servers on that mode are really dead now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just going back to the lullaby, like, I'm an old man. I've still got an MP3 player, and it's still on there. I've had it on there ever since the Zombies album released with Moon.
Yeah, I've always got the Zombies albums on my phone. Never leave home without it.
Mm-hmm. Nah.
I'm glad you touched on that, though, actually. Sorry to hijack. I was just saying, I'm glad you touched on the genre shift, because it's not really something I ever thought about till you mentioned it. It's certainly a lot...
The what shift?
Genre. Where it's, it's more of a... Lullaby's more of a rock song, but the lyrics are more like metal stuff. That sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's really interesting escalation, if you want to put it that way. It's like I've said to you... Oh, sorry, go on.
No.
I was just going to say, it's like I've said to you outside the podcast. I would never expect a mode as popular as Call of Duty, or a game rather as popular as Call of Duty, with a mode like Zombies to have metal music. I still find that really surprising that it took off the way it did, considering it's kind of a niche genre almost. You know what I mean? At least in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, that always just really surprised me. And like,
yeah. And
no, I'll let you go. I'll let you go.
I keep trying to. No. You finish. Sorry, we don't have face cams, guys. So this is why we end up stumbling over each other. So we can't really see who's talking when. Josh, you finish your point.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I would never have expected to see bands like Avenged Sevenfold in Call of Duty and stuff like that. It still feels really outlandish even now thinking about it. But yeah, that's all I was going to say. Feel free to fire off.
I can't remember what I was going to say now.
See, this is the problem when you start talking over each other.
Yeah. I like that. This once again, Verrückt showing its introduction or introducing new mechanics like the Easter egg songs, and since then we've had so many great hits out of varying genres. And I mean, I would argue that 115 from Kino is the most recognised song in Zombies.
Oh, absolutely.
Everyone and their mother has heard it, and it's crazy that we've now, like, how it all kind of started with this. And I never thought that a whole kind of playlist on my MP3 player would be dedicated to just zombie songs.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy how many we have now. It's just I'd have to tally them up. I dread to think how much it is. It feels like it's at least 50, if not more.
I don't have it. I don't have my MP3 player in here, otherwise I'd tell you.
But yeah, it's just crazy how big it's gotten. And not to mention, like, we've got guest songs and stuff. Like, I don't know if you knew this, but the person who sings "Destroy Something Beautiful" is apparently an actual singer for a proper band, which I didn't know at first.
I think I saw someone commenting on Kevin's video on it that they were from a band.
Yeah,
cool.
I think that's the first time that's ever happened, isn't it? They've done like a crossover with a proper artist for Zombies.
Yeah, I think so.
So I honestly wouldn't mind seeing that in the future if they want to do that again at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought that song was really good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, outside of something like Avenged Sevenfold, who wrote
yeah, true.
Not Ready to Die specifically for zombies.
God, what a banger.
I know.
We'll get there eventually.
But, we'll get to that when we get... Yeah. But it's crazy how such a small little, like, side mode has just created a whole boom for music.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. That, like... I was going to try, for time's sake, and gloss over this topic a bit, but I feel like it's just such a pivotal moment. Lullaby for a Dead Man. Like, even though I said, like I said, I don't think it's the best song they've done, it's probably the most important one. Because it's the one that kicked everything off. Like, just out of curiosity for you, what was the one that made you click? For me, it was The One.
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
I was saying, what was the song that clicked for you? For me, it was Shinonuma with The One. I heard it the first time and I was like,
'cause
wow,
I came-
this is really good.
Yeah, I think because I came into the scene quite late.
I was going to say, you had 115 out the gate, so it's an easy pick.
Yeah, so exactly. If failing that though, it would probably be Abracadabra.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's a good one.
It was particularly, I think it was the bridge or something. Which was like saying these shackles. I can't remember the line.
Oh yeah.
That really kind of, I thought it was so well done, and that's where I really fell in love with the other songs. And
Yeah.
because I didn't have World at War for quite a while, I didn't have or listen to Lullaby or Beauty of Annihilation or The One until really when the soundtrack was released if you bought Moon.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. So did you listen to them independently, or did you play Verrückt or the Shinonuma, Derries, whatever it might be, first to listen to the song, or how was it you first heard it?
I think when Moon came out and they gave the code to be able to download the soundtrack, that's where I really first... I might have heard them in brief when I was playing with friends.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I actually heard it on the soundtrack that I really paid attention to the World at War song.
Yeah.
And then I went back and played, like, I got World at War and then played them in game, and then I also played the World at War ports on Black Ops 1, and I heard it there as well.
Yeah.
And it was really when Moon released and the soundtrack came with it that you could download on your MP3 player, that's when I really paid attention. But I really enjoyed Abracadabra and 115 when it came out, and I would always put them on.
Yeah, absolutely. They're definitely, like, Black Ops 1 definitely had some of the better ones, for sure. Like, all of them on Black Ops 1 I think are really good. Even Coming Home, despite it being a bit niche.
Yeah.
I like the chorus.
Might have to agree to disagree there.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, that's fair.
The chorus and the bridge are great. It's just the screaming's a bit too much, I think. But you know,
I feel sorry for Elena's vocals.
Absolutely. I was just going to think about saying that there with the just me talking about how there's too much screaming, and I'm like, wow, look at me with my unique opinions. But yeah, is there anything else to add? Or?
Yeah, I don't think so. Let's move on to the next bit.
Yeah, so this is just more sound design really for Verrückt, like the, you know, your ambience and like all the screams and that in the background, all the weird sound effects that you hear.
Mm-hmm.
Top notch. Again, it just plays into the atmosphere really well.
Yeah,
Oh, go on.
I guess that's kind of part of the horror element of the game. I always remember going into the furnace room on the American side,
Yeah.
and like the baby crying.
Is that when you crouch?
And I was like, ooh.
In like the morgue, next to the morgue?
Yeah,
Is it the furnace or the
exactly,
morgue?
exactly. It's the furnace, I think.
It's a furnace, right. It's hard to tell with those old graphics.
I know. But just crouching down and hearing that baby crying, it's just like, ooh, actually, that's a bit skin crawling.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, one bit that always used to get me is that, like, I don't remember exactly where it plays. I think it's in the American side of the Thompson room, where you hear that banging and crashing, and there's that guy like crying or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's such an iconic soundbite for that map. I wonder do they play multiplayer? I can't remember.
God, I don't remember. It's been a while. It's been a long while since I played the World at War multiplayer.
Right.
And every time I have, the lobbies have just been hacked to shit. So
absolutely,
it's been a long time since I've actually had a chance to pay attention.
It's so sad because it's such an iconic multiplayer as well, for it to be ruined like that.
I hope that World at War does get a proper remaster one day. But
yeah, 100%.
Who knows?
There was one more specific sound I could think of, and that's kind of getting to one of the things I wanted to mention in the trivia section, actually. You know, like the wall scrolling that's in the speed coloring. and all those illustrations.
Yep.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of information about those online that I didn't know about before researching it for this podcast episode. And I'll leave a link to that in the description if anyone wants to read it. It's a breakdown on one of the old Call of Duty Zombies forums, which I'm surprised still exist. I think I have an account on it, actually, from years and years and years ago. I think. I do vaguely remember it, but I was like, is this still active? So I pressed the homepage, and it says Terminus and Liberty Falls, so I'm like, oh. I did not know they were still active, but there you go.
Nice. The more you know.
So if you ever want to find...
The only thing I know about that wall...
Oh, go on.
I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, if you ever want to dig up on some old theory crafting and that's probably the best place to find it, honestly, because that's been around since World at War, from what I remember. So if you're looking for any old intel or anything like that, it's definitely worth checking that out. Not sponsored, by the way. I just stumbled into it last night and I thought it was interesting reading all the Verrückt stuff from it. And yeah, I'll leave the wall writing stuff in the description if you want to have a look at that yourself. Might put some of it on screen, we'll see. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for that. Unless you've got anything else.
No, I don't think so.
Right, so finally we have the PA system, which was something I completely forgot existed, or perhaps didn't even know in the first place. You seem to remember it though, didn't you?
Yeah, only that there was music that played when you turned on the power, but I didn't realise that it was coming from like the PA system.
Yeah, because
which I thought was pretty cool.
I was actually playing it for the compilation, the Nacht section, because I wanted to check if the radio worked in that, and then I no-clipped out to the main hub area, you know, the outside, the courtyard, and suddenly this music starts playing, and I'm like, where's that from? I haven't heard that before. So, because like I say, when I play casually, I play with headphones on and listen to music or something, so I kind of lose track of a lot of these sound effects and whatnot. So, yeah, I wasn't aware of it, or I'd just forgotten about it, but yeah, so it's apparently an actual piece of music pronounced valse. I don't know how you would pronounce that.
God, I don't know. I don't know.
By Stephen Diaz. So there you go. I might put that in the description as well if anyone wants to listen to it on its own. I was thinking about uploading it actually. I'm not entirely sure, but we shall see.
Is it licensed?
Well, they managed to upload it, so I assume not. And they uploaded the proper version, not the PA version. So we'll see.
Okay, that's fair.
So yeah, I might add it for the compilation, but obviously this is like a week in advance, so I guess we'll find out. Nothing's set in stone just yet. Alright, so the Black Ops 1 part then. Do you want to take us up on this?
Yeah, I mean, not a lot to add really, other than, again, in my opinion, I think the Black Ops 1 ports don't look as good as the World at War versions. But I only really added things like the Winter's Howl, and the Black Ops 1 guns in the mystery box. And I think you play as Ultimates in it as well, don't you?
Yeah.
So that's... Which I think is sorely missing the Marines.
Actually,
in my opinion,
I totally agree with that. Yeah, I was just gonna say one thing we neglected to mention with Nacht is I'm pretty sure the Black Ops 1 version of Ultimus is silent. I don't think they actually speak, but I think we said that they did. But I think it's only Chronicles where they where Ultimus start quoting, clipping, and whatnot. So just to clear any confusion up.
Is that not the other way around?
Is it?
I think that's the other way around, Josh.
It might be the other way around.
I think in Chronicles they're silent, but in Black Ops 1 port they do speak.
Well, there you go.
I distinctly remember getting the thunder gun out with Nikolai on that map and him going like saying like the fist of Stalin up your ass, and I remember just dying because I was cracking up so hard about it.
Of course, yeah. All right. Well, I was just curious. Like I say, I know one of them had it silent, but I just couldn't remember which one, and I didn't want to mislead people into thinking it was They're spoke in both versions. So in one of them, they're silent. I'm going to assume it's Black Ops 3. Like I say, I don't play with audio, so please don't lynch me for getting it wrong.
What do you think of the Black Ops 1 port?
I enjoy it. It's more of the same, really. I don't think it has, like... I said that I didn't have a lot of issues with, like, the Black Ops 1 port in Nacht, but looking back at the footage, the lighting for Nacht was... It was extremely dark. It wasn't until I was putting the footage together and saw them side by side, and how the shadows in the help room are, like, jet black. I haven't seen Verrückt side by side yet, so I'd have to compare. But, gameplay-wise, it's the same experience, I suppose, but with less faffing. With zombie collision. But the problem is it loses the super sprinters in that version, so that's a negative for sure. But I don't think it has any super sprinters, does it? Because it's before Call of the Dead.
No.
Because it came out with the hardened edition,
and I remember,
didn't it? The Black Ops 1 ports. They only got batch release later.
Yeah, and then...
Yeah.
And I remember in the Nacht episode you were saying that particularly for Verrückt, Shino Numa and Therese, you weren't too keen on how the music cut out.
Yeah, this is probably a better map to bring it up on, actually. I don't know if Lullaby does it. I know Therese does. Beauty of Annihilation absolutely does. The one, maybe, probably, but I don't remember if Lullaby does. I genuinely can't remember with that one. I'm going to assume it does, because the other two definitely do. Without a doubt. But yeah, it's just, it's largely the same, really, with Black Ops 1. They don't change a whole lot. Like you say, you've got Ultimus, but they do speak in that one. For sure.
Yeah.
I don't mind it so much in Verrückt. I don't know, Dempsey's already got claimed to be there, so... The other three, though, you can decide for you whether you prefer them or not. I genuinely don't really have an opinion on it. They're just kind of there. Beyond that, though, I think we've already mentioned quite a lot of the other things that we're going to mention in that category. We've kind of gone over it in the previous set of categories. For trivia, we did have a few things we were going to cover, but we'll just quickly skim it because we have totally run on time, haven't we? Again.
Yeah.
I mean, like I say, you couldn't have picked a better name. You really couldn't have. So just to...
Undead ramblings for a reason.
So just to quickly skim what we haven't covered already, there's the mounted MG in the fountain that you can actually use. It exists in all versions, I believe. I think it's even in Chronicles, which is fun.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's a nice little Easter egg, I guess, they kept. Do you reckon it was to actually test mounted machine guns for the way it was going to work in the map before they cut it?
Maybe. The only other... I mean, it's under the fountain, isn't
Yeah.
it? So...
but I mean more like a dev test thing.
I genuinely don't know.
Just to test if mounted guns could work in Verrückt with zombies.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, at least we got it eventually in Gorod Krovi, I suppose.
That's true.
So another one that we've put down was the dynamic or movable light in the speed caller room. I don't know if you remember that. If you shoot it with the shotgun, it actually moves around. It has physics and all that.
I usually just jumped into it and sent it flying there and everywhere.
I just think it's
strange. To get
strange.
stuck on something.
I just think it's strange because it's the only light in the whole mode that has collision in World at War.
Yeah.
But, I guess it's just one of those fun little details. There's also the dentist chair, which I think is probably the most famous one, where if you hold X on it 3 times, it's on the German side, isn't it? You'll get, a scream sound effect. That's not something they've done a lot of. They did it in Zetsabo, though. I remember that. Where if you hold X on a few things...
Did they?
Yeah, there's a...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a few, interactables where if you hold it down, you get, a reaction or something. We've got on World at War, where instead of resume game, it used to say resume carnage.
Yeah.
You know, when Treyarch used to be like really edgy with it. On World at War, there's a typo on your friends list. It will pronounce Verrückt without the C. So if you're ever playing the Xbox One version or Series X, go through the 360 guide and check to see if that's actually the case, because I'd be interested to see if they ever fixed that or not.
One thing I did want to mention here that I found interesting is that this map didn't release, this map and map pack, I should say, didn't release with any achievements that went with it.
Yeah.
Which I thought was quite interesting.
Is it Shinonuma that has the first set of achievements?
Until...
Oh, Darius.
Yeah.
Oh, Darius had them.
Yep. Shinonuma.
Alright. It's pretty cool.
And it wasn't until Chronicles that Verrückt got achievements, which was
yeah, because I remembered the one that's like kill zombies from the top catwalk that are in the courtyard.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember getting that one, but like you say, I think it's Chronicles. It's not the original, I don't think.
Yeah.
Alright, so you want to go into other real quick? And then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a
So
lot
we've
really
got
to
map
say. We already
rumors.
mentioned about... Yeah.
I don't really have any for this one. I don't know about you.
No.
Not for Verrückt specifically, no. Trailer, like we've already said about that one, the mountable LMG in the bar room. The dev cube.
Oh yeah, I did want to...
Oh, go on.
can we just go back to trailers?
Yeah,
real quick?
yeah.
I did want to kind of talk about how awesome the specifically the just the beginning trailer was.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They weren't kidding, were they?
Which I think was our first kind of... Yeah, exactly. And I think that was kind of our first cinematic trailer, if you could call it that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it really set the tone of the map.
Speaking of which, actually, quick shout out to the Nacht bonus mode trailer that they made retroactively for Nacht.
Yeah, that's true.
It's strange, that one, though, because they've given the Marines voices, but they don't actually speak in the map itself.
I know,
But-
I know.
Oh well, shows a bit of effort.
This was, yeah, exactly. And this was back when trailers were actually had a bit more effort put into them, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
One of my favourite comments on the just the beginning trailer was, "This is the most intense round one I've ever seen."
Absolutely. Like when it's like guys like, one of the Marines is like, "Is it over?" You're like, "No, not even close, mate."
Yeah. You mentioned about the dev queue.
Yeah, I'll flash that on screen. You won't be able to see it. Like, most people are probably aware of it. I doubt it's changed over the years. People have probably seen it before. But there's a little dev cube underneath the fountain in the World at War version of Verrückt. I'm not sure if it's there in Black Ops. I didn't check, but I'll flash it on screen anyway, just in case you're unaware of it. I just thought it was fun. And Blackout, we've already kind of mentioned that, haven't we? That Verrückt appears in Blackout.
Yeah.
So. What character item was there again? Just on a side note, I know somebody's was.
I know Dempsey's was in Nuketown.
One was in the graveyard.
Was it Richthofen's item? That could have been Richthofen's item.
Right.
I genuinely don't remember.
I wish we could do a video on Blackout. I'd totally do it if we had the option. I'm not playing Warzone, though.
Yeah, man.
Not a fan. Just not a fan. So yeah. Oh, go on.
I was just gonna say, any final words?
No, I was
about
literally
Verrückt?
about to close out. So yeah, I'll let you go ahead with this then.
Yeah, okay. I mean, just a final word from me at least. Like Verrückt, I think really built on the foundations of Nacht Der Untoten and set in so many staples that were going to be carried forward for the mode. And I would argue that Verrückt is probably one of the most important zombies maps ever.
Absolutely.
Which again, like all the World at War maps, it left an impact.
Yeah, it's like you're saying, like, well, if any of these 4 maps had been any different, what we have now, like today, could be a completely different experience to what we have now. I think we really owe a lot to these early maps, and I would highly encourage, if you have never played them, or you're new to Black Ops 6 or Cold War or one of the newer games, I'd highly encourage you to at least go and try them. Hopefully they'll go on Game Pass or something eventually, if you're on Xbox and that, or PC. But I would highly encourage that you play them, because they really are worth picking up. For sure. They really hold up today, especially if you play the Chronicles versions. Would highly, highly recommend. But yeah, I think that's me. If you want to wrap up.
Yeah, okay, so with the release of Black Ops 6 Citadel de Mort, when this episode goes live, the next episode that we'll be talking about, which will be on when will the episode after that drop?
I didn't check the next one, but
it'll probably be the 19th that the next episode drops.
It's right before Christmas.
So I know. So our Christmas episode will be talking about Citadel, our initial thoughts and feelings on Citadel de Mort. We'll probably talk about scheduling over Christmas in that episode.
Yeah.
But we'll cover that when we do.
Yeah.
As usual, do the YouTube pleasantries, like, share, and subscribe. And I'll leave the last word for Josh.
All right. So just final bit of pleasantries to wrap up. You can always check out the Discord if you want to chat to other people who are similar-minded and just want to talk zombies, stuff like that. Still trying to make it a bit more active, but it's a work in progress at the minute. Because we did have a long period, didn't we, of a drought, and now it's kind of gone a bit stale. So trying to pump some more life into that.
Yeah.
And there's also the Aether Compilation, which again, like I said, the Verrückt chapter 2 will be out today, in theory. So just keep an eye out for that, and hopefully you'll enjoy it if you're into the soundtrack content. Which, and speaking of that, for the next week or so, once the new map comes out, we'll be releasing the soundtrack for that map as well, for Black Ops 6. So that's something to look forward to. And yeah, we'd also be interested in hearing what your thoughts are on Verrückt and how long you've been playing zombies for, and some of the topics we talked about. It's always interesting to have a discussion. That's really what these are for, isn't it? It's more for just to have a discussion with people, because, like you say, we just love talking about zombies. So, more than happy to hear more people's opinions on some of the stuff we said, or your own opinions on the map. And yeah, I think that's about it. So, thanks for watching. See ya.